Okay, I just started the broadcast, just waiting for it to come through live on the watch page. And as soon as it does, we will start with our content. There we go. Let me just make sure the sound comes through. Ooh.
Oh, not good.
Well, I can't hear myself. Let me see. It might be something with mine, but my mic is on. Oh, thank you, Denise. Okay. Denise to save the day. So apparently they can see and hear us. I just can't hear myself, but that's fine. Okay. So hello and welcome to episode 15 of the Take Note Chat. In this episode, my guest is educator and self-described ed tech geek, Tracy Smith, and she's going to show you how to use Wakelet in OneNote. And this is a really new integration that was just announced in April. So it's pretty exciting to be getting into this hot topic. Twitter was kind of blowing up with this when they first announced it. So we will be taking your questions and comments throughout this live broadcast in the chat box on the YouTube live page. And if you're catching the replay, you can just add your questions or comments below the video in the comments section. And you can also post or share about this event using the hashtag TakeNoteChat. So let me tell you about today's guest. Tracy Smith has been an elementary school teacher in Texas for the past 7 years and is passionate about integrating technology into her classroom and all areas of her life. Prior to teaching, Tracy worked in HR and recruiting, and keeping on top of technology has always been a top priority for her. Tracy's currently working on making the transition from classroom teacher to instructional technology coach, and she's passionate about helping teachers learn to effectively integrate technology into their classrooms. This summer, she's presenting at the TCEA Elementary Technology Conference. That's it's Texas Computer Education Association Elementary Technology Conference in Galveston, Texas. And she'll be teaching teachers how to use OneNote in the classroom, as well as several other educator technology conferences. So when she's not doing teacher things, she is a wife and stepmother to 2 wonderful grown children and enjoys riding her paint horse Dolly or her Harley Davidson trike wherever she can. So like, how cool is that? And she has you can find her easily online. There's a bunch of links, including to her website and blog and her own Wakelet profile. And that's all in the description of this video. So welcome, Tracy. Did I miss anything?
I don't think so. Thank you.
All right. Just going to give a quick check of the chat. Thank you, Denise. I just can't hear it on the watch page, but I can hear Tracy just fine, and I only need to hear her. So I'll just deal with as long as you guys are fine, I'm good. And Denise says, "Way to go, Tracy."
Thank you.
Okay, so if you don't know me, if you're new here, I host the largest OneNote group on Facebook, which is the OneNote Bullet Journal group. And I use OneNote to keep just about every area of my life organized and moving forward. In addition to being a YouTube creator, I'm also a blogger at One Noteworthy Life, and I've been co-hosting or hosting the Take Note Chat since early 2018. So before we jump into Tracy's content, let me check the chat. Okay, everyone's just saying hello. Audio and video is good. So let's jump into our content. I asked Tracy to be this month's guest and present on Wakelet because, as I mentioned, it was a really hot topic last month when the integration was announced on Twitter. And Tracy was already using it and posting about it even before, I heard about it. So she's also a really active contributor in our Facebook group, and she regularly steps in to answer questions. So I thought it would be really cool to get in on this hot topic. Now, before I turn the chat over to Tracy, I wanted to ask if anybody watching live uses Wakelet. And if you do, drop a comment in the chat box and let us know how you use it. And you can also post a link to your Wakelet profile if you want to. So let me just see if no one's weighed in yet, but so let's get into it. Tracy, what is Wakelet?
Excellent. Well, Wakelet is, in its purest sense, it's a content curation tool. I think you summed it up when we had talked previously, kind of like a more updated version of Pinterest. it's a little more streamlined, a little easier able to organize things, just a more updated, version of that. I never kind of got into the whole Pinterest thing, but Wakelet really works for, the way I work. So it's just a place to collect links, and there's any number of uses that you can actually do with it.
Yeah, when we talked, you used the word a more streamlined Pinterest, and we had a little laugh over how Pinterest can be such a rabbit hole. Like you go on there looking for a recipe, and the next thing you know, you're looking at, back porch remodels or something. It's just you can just get so sucked in. And the other thing about Pinterest that I think Wakelet has an advantage over Pinterest, we also talked about, is that sometimes stuff gets pinned and repinned and stuff, and you find an image you like, and it's like, oh, I love that. Let me check on that. And you click it and it goes nowhere.
Exactly.
So.
Exactly. It tends to be a lot of broken links, and Wakelet's a little easier to clean up and keep streamlined than that. And just, you don't have to click, because Pinterest to me seems like there's several clicks to get to the actual thing that has the content that I need. And the other thing about Wakelet is such a variety of items that you can save to there. It's not just links to website. It's things like files and photos and MP3s and videos and tweets, and just a myriad of media that you can save.
Yeah, that's another really cool thing, because Pinterest is all about the image. And if something doesn't have an image, you can't really, I suppose you probably could, but it's really about saving an image. So I think you just summed it up, that Wakelet's a lot more versatile than Pinterest. Yes. Because you can save all these different kinds of things. So, okay, let me check the chat here. Okay, so we have a couple people. Denise says she is not using Wakelet yet. Looks like she's going to. Brand new to Wakelet. And then someone said they just joined in because of the announcement that it works with OneNote. Okay, so that's a good question. Long Live says, I'm not getting why I shouldn't just continue to use OneNote for gathering links. What am I missing? And I think, Tracy, you're going to kind of cover that. And are you ready to share your screen, or are we not at that point yet?
I am. Whenever you're ready. I have it ready. So you ready?
Okay, yeah. Why don't you? So we've covered kind of what it is. Now you can show us some examples.
Sure, no problem. Let me go ahead and share this. Okay. Well, now we're looking at each other there. All right.
I see your screen.
Excellent. So this is just a page, and I put this in here because you put the link to it in the notes. This is mainly what we just kind of talked about what kind of things can be in a Wakelet. What are some of the uses for it? You talked about, somebody said that why not just continue to embed links in OneNote? You'll see when I show you how to embed it, visually, it's just a big improvement over just copying, pasting a link. Also, some links in OneNote are just a static link. You can't actually scroll through things unless it's a web page that supports the embed. Whereas when you embed that Wakelet in there, you can actually scroll through it without having to click on every single link. And I see some spelling mistakes in there. Sorry. The teacher and me didn't proofread that very well.
By the way, Tracy mentioned it, but the link to this, what she's showing you, is actually a OneNote notebook, and that's what she's presenting from. She has linked to that notebook in the description of the video. So what you're seeing on screen, there's a link to it in the video.
Yes, exactly. So we talked about a little bit about Wakelet, and if you're not familiar with content curation in general, it's basically just gathering information and that's relevant to a particular topic of interest. And for example, let me jump back a page real quick. We talked about some of the different examples. I kind of made a list of some of the different ways that, one might make a Wakelet collection for recipes. You and I had talked about a home renovation project. You could kind of do before and after pictures and maybe save resources in there as well. Travel ideas and planning. For example, my husband and I are going on a couple trips later this year, and I've made a Wakelet collection for them to just kind of throw in their restaurants, things we might want to do, just kind of a place to gather all that stuff. Research sources for a writing project. This is something that's really popular in the education space. My students just finished doing a writing project, and they're only in 5th grade. So I want them to have a limited number of sources to research from because they haven't done this before. And so I was able to curate some quality sources and really kind of control what they used for those sources on that point. So that was a good use for that there. Things like Christmas gift ideas, teachers, lesson planning ideas, or if you're a creative type, maybe project ideas, things like that. Just it can be a general repository for bits and pieces of information for projects that are in process. For example,
Sorry.
that's okay. The presentations that I'm working on this summer, I've started a Wakelet for each of those, because as I'm building my slides and my presentation, and I may find bits and pieces of information and I'm not ready to pull it in yet, I throw it in that Wakelet until I put it into the OneNote presentation. That way I have it saved in one place, and it's easy to pull it in at the last minute.
Mm-hmm.
So, but going back to the content curation, it's more than just bookmarking pages. We're all familiar with, and that, to me, that's kind of what Pinterest was always like. I see something I like, hey, I'm gonna pin it, and I can go back to it later. With Wakelet, you can add notes and comments to it. You can share it. You can have collaborations. For example, the Wakelet that we made for this project, where you and I can both add to it and collaborate with it. That's a good way to work with groups, regardless of what your workflow is. And the content you're saving isn't necessarily your own. It could be something that someone shared with you, things that you found various places. And one of the big things about content curation, I put this little visual kind of spoke to me. I kind of use it like a filing cabinet. You obviously want the one on the left and not the one on the right, to better organize your stuff, so that you can quickly and easily put your finger on it. Even in OneNote, I find sometimes I lose links and I can't remember what page, where did I put that in? What was the name of that link? When you see how it looks in Wakelet, you see the little visual snippets. It's very easy to go, oh, that's the page I want. And it just seems like I can more quickly recall things.
Yeah, and I think so far we haven't really addressed that question of why not keep using OneNote, but I think that will become clear when you show us Wakelet,
Absolutely.
Yeah, and then you show us how it looks in OneNote, because so far, like, all these are great tips, but we still haven't really hit on that question. But I do think it'll be clear. Like, so are you ready to jump to your Wakelet page?
I am. I'm going to jump up and show you Wakelet first, and then we will. There we go. So this is my home page of Wakelet. Once you sign in and make an account, this is kind of my home base. So when I go to Wakelet, I see, and these are all of my collections that I have here. Some of these are personal, some of them are not. For example, these two right here, these are two presentations that I'm doing at that Galveston conference that I am kind of compiling things on. My OneNote presentation is almost finished, so I have more stuff in there. My Pear Deck one, I'm just kind of getting started with that one. So just different projects in general. I also kind of use Wakelet as like a read later kind of service. And so this inbox collection right here is things that I've gathered from various places, maybe Twitter or the web or Facebook or whatever, that I haven't had time to read yet. And I just throw them all in there when I have a few minutes. If I'm waiting for somebody somewhere or whatever, then I can dive into that inbox and look at those things and deal with them. They're not urgent by any means. It's just interesting stuff that I've put in there. For example, this is the Wakelet collection that you saw. Actually, that's actually the link that's into this chat that I created for this chat, specifically about OneNote bullet journal. And so if I click on the collection, you can do cool things like put a little cover page picture here. You can also go in and make a, if you edit the collection, let me click right here. You can put a background image in there. I tend not to put a background image in there. I think it looks a little cluttered. So I just put a little cover photo that kind of helps me remember what the collection's for, and then start dropping my things in there. So when you look at the collection, these things, these are all the different resources. This is actually, what's that page not pulling up now? This is actually a website called OSComp. It's a tweet. That's what it is. That it's a company from Australia that makes a lot of custom OneNote templates that I found recently. So if it's not pulling up there, there must be something going on with their page right now. This is a link to your plan with me video, so that I put in there, and I just got that directly from YouTube. So just different things that are relevant to bullet journaling. So I just put a few things in here so you could kind of see, and you get a little visual snippet of it. And if you were to click on any one of these things, it would take you directly to, that particular page. For example, if I were to click on this, it's going to take me directly to that web page, that article. This little page out here beside there, save item, it's already saved actually. That where that little icon comes into play is if I was looking at someone else's collection and they had something in there and I go, oh, that's a good article, I need to save that for later. I could then save it myself. So if I was looking at somebody else's. But once you have them in here, you can edit the correct collection. You can change the order of it. You can, edit so you can reorder things by basically just dragging and dropping. So if I wanted a different thing to be at the top, this one that's not showing up very well right now, I could actually move it to the bottom so it doesn't show up as the first thing. Maybe I want a cleaner look because maybe this is a collection that I've shared. And so I can make changes. The other thing that's great about Wakelet is you can control these collections. To my knowledge, I don't know, can you put something on Pinterest and have it be private?
I think there are private boards. Yeah.
Okay. I like I said, I don't use it that much. So you can enable this particular board is public, meaning anybody that has a link can see it. It could be unlisted, being that you'd have to have the link to be able to access it. Public, I'm sorry, I said that wrong. Public means they could search for it. So if they went to wakelet.com and search OneNote, this would probably come up in the search results. Or it could be private, meaning only I could see it. So I can control all of that. I usually, when I start one, I usually start it private until I put a few things in there. And if it's something I'm going to share, then I'll go ahead and change it to either unlisted or public. You can also add contributors. Like I mentioned, click on that and add contributors, people that can add to it as well. And for example, you can see when you look on the home page, these little icons, this is another one that's public. This is something I created for the other teachers at my school. But this is a collection that's private. Teachers are always planning, and I've already found a couple of resources I want to use for next year. So I made a Wakelet of, resources and just threw them in there. I don't have them organized in a OneNote notebook. They will be when the school year starts. But right now, I really don't even know exactly what I want to do with them, just that I saw them and they were good ideas.
Yeah. So just in case that wasn't clear, to me, the big advantage of Wakelet, it was obvious when Tracy was scrolling through, is that you can save like she had at least a tweet in there. She had an article. She had a Tumblr post, a couple of YouTube videos. There was a link from my site, which had a button. So it grabbed like the button. So you can save this wide variety of things, and it's very visually clean, and it gives you that nice snippet. It gives you like a little bit of the YouTube description or whatever. So I think, to me, like, there's part one of the advantage of using it over OneNote, where it's just not going to be as consistent and clean.
Right. For example, I'll go back here and show you this little page. This is a list of all the different things that you can put in Wakelet, and there's probably more that I haven't touched on here. But like I said, links, images, tweets, Instagram and Facebook posts, videos, playlists from Google, Spotify, SoundCloud, Google Slides presentations, just any multiple forms of media. So that's just a huge advantage, that you can gather it all in that one place.
Right. And it looks good. Like, it looks visually consistent and stuff like that. Like, you could gather it in other places, but I think the advantage of Wakelet is that it really has that nice streamline and clear visual.
It does.
Ms. Brinkley, please come to the front office.
I'm so
Ms.
sorry.
Shout out to Tracy.
Family
She
night
is actually working between a full day and an evening program. So bravo to her.
And I just knew that was going to happen. I just prayed there wasn't some kind of drill that goes
Oh
off.
God.
But
okay, so we have one question, and then we can move
Sure.
on to embedding that Wakelet board, or what's it called? A Wakelet collection?
Collection. They call it a collection.
In OneNote.
Yeah.
Okay. Taylor wants to know, what are the storage limitations on Wakelet?
I haven't run up against that just yet. I know they have in here. We can look it up. I do know that I have some friends that are using it that have many more collections than me. It's going to tell me it's looking up
Yeah.
first. Yeah.
Well,
I'm sure it's on
yeah.
their FAQs, their FAQs page. Honestly, I haven't because I haven't run up against it yet.
Yeah. So, and that's telling in itself is that you use this extensively for work and personal use and haven't run up against it.
Right. And you can look over here and you can see that right now I have 20 collections, a total of 78 bookmarks. And bookmarks are maybe loose things that are not in a collection, or all of the things that are in the collections combined, because I do have a few things that I've randomly just thrown in there and they're not in something yet. But I tend not to do that. And then a group collection, that's something that's this one right here, for example, that you and I can both contribute to. The other thing that's nice, and Pinterest has this too, on Wakelet, is that you can follow people and have followers. I didn't know I had a whole whopping 3 followers, but and you can also share your public profile. For example, the page that you're seeing now, this is what I see when I log into Pinterest. Not Pinterest, Wakelet. Wow. But if I were to share if you were to click on my Wakelet page, this is what you're going to see. You're going to see only the Wakelets that I have chosen to make public. So I have 20 collections and you're seeing 7 of them. So, and so, like most of those tend to be kind of teacher related, but so this is what you see on a personal level. And so you can share, you can also, for those of you that blog, you can link in here. I've got this link to my Twitter and Facebook and my blog. That way I can send people back to those pages as well. So for those people that blog and, are concerned about maintaining their social media presence, Wakelet blends in very nicely, and you can make this, you can change this. I have just picked horses. You can upload a custom thing. So if you have a business logo, that background picture could be your business logo as well.
Okay, so we've covered some really good uses of Wakelet in education and outside of education. So I think we have a pretty good idea of what Wakelet is. So why don't we jump to how do you use it in OneNote, and what are the advantages of using Wakelet within OneNote?
Absolutely. The main advantage to me is that it's not having to jump to another application. You can see the things directly within OneNote, for example, and I'm going to show you how to embed in just a second, but this is that Wakelet that I just showed you on the Wakelet page, the OneNote journal tips and resources. This is it actually embedded into a OneNote page. So I've embedded this one in here. I can scroll through all these different files and I'm still in OneNote. I have not left. When I find the particular file I want, I want this right here. When I click on this and click visit, my computer's wanting to be it's supposed to open another window. Maybe it's that link. Let's try something else. I didn't want to open a video and have it start playing. That's why I was trying to pick something that was not a video.
Yeah.
Well,
I think we get the, yeah. I mean, if it's just not,
usually it will when you open, it'll open up in a new window, and it will at that point pop me out of OneNote.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, I can still scroll through and see all of my things in here. And if you're creating a notebook that you're sharing with people, for example, when I use this with students, this might be a page that might be an assignment, and I might have screenshots of what I want them to do. And then I might say, okay, and here are the resources you may use to do your research. So they're going to obviously have to leave OneNote to research, but then they're going to come back into OneNote to compile that research. But I'm able to compile it all into one assignment, one collection, one place for them to do their work.
Yeah, so I think there again is the advantage of just collecting links in OneNote, which is, totally valid. If that works for you, great. It's just that when you show that, you can see that super streamlined, really easy to use Wakelet interface. And I also like that there's an elevator button on your right, and the whole Wakelet collection is contained kind of in a box on the OneNote page.
And you can scroll through it and see what's in there. Like I said, the only thing was my little tech fail there that it didn't want to open. It usually does actually open perfectly. Yeah. So, but I can go ahead and show you really easy how, and this is part of what's in that resources so that if somebody's watching it later needs to, that has the directions. But basically I kind of screenshotted how to embed a Wakelet connection into a OneNote page. I actually just deleted that collection that was in there so that you can see me embed it live. So I'll go back through in just a second and embed it. So obviously first thing is to set up your account and log in. And then when you log in, you'll be at this little home screen page. It looks like that. And then the next thing is to click on that link that you're actually wishing to embed. So let me go back over here and find that same link again. So it was this one right here. And so I'm going to click on share. And when it clicks on share, you have a number of different options. Obviously, since I'm putting this in OneNote, I'm going to click down here to copy, but you can also share that collection via a QR code. You can share it directly to Facebook, Twitter, Reddit. These bottom two down here are really apps that mostly educators use. That's Google Classroom, which is a learning management system, and remind.com, which is a website that a lot of teachers use to communicate with parents. So if this was maybe a link of math homework sites, I could create it and have it saved in my OneNote notebook, my lesson planning notebook, but I could put it on Remind and send it out to my parents, my students' parents, to give them some resources to help their students. So that's another way that you could kind of edit it there, that you could kind of use it there. So when I click on here, I can click on it to copy, and see it pops up and tells me it has copied. And I pop back over here to OneNote. So now I've clicked in and copied it, which is what I showed you in this little screenshot right here. And then I find the page you want on your OneNote page, on your OneNote notebook here, and you kind of get to that spot. So this is where I wanted to put it right here. This is where it was previously. One tip when you're embedding into Wakelet, it tends to be easier if you when you right click and paste it in there. If you choose the keep text only option and then select paste, sometimes depending on what browser you're using, and I tend to use Chrome, if you just hit Control V, it doesn't always work. They are working on that, but if you hit the keep text only and paste it in there, it should work just fine. So I'm going to hit the paste and keep text only and put it in there, and there you go. Now you see that page. So when I click on this, there it is. That's the one that's in there.
That's fabulous. That's so amazing. And that way that you share it is so familiar. Like there are so many apps that have that same thing, share, and it gives you an option to either go directly into another site or to copy a link. So it's, I like that they made it so simple. And then that's like a little ninja trick. If you're using Chrome, don't just do Control V, paste it with the text only. So that's great as well.
Yeah.
And with this, I just want to cycle back because I don't want to leave the question hanging. Can we go back afterwards and we'll put the storage limits in the description of the video? You and I can work that out.
Not a problem. Not a problem. I can,
Okay.
I'll find that and I will. Do you want me to get that to you?
Yeah, that would be great. So Taylor, we will put that in the description of the video when we have it, but it'll be probably tomorrow. And then Hewlin has a question. It says, Michele, what is the lowest level you can share on OneNote, notebook, folder, or page? So I'm going to table that till later because Tracy's time is limited, and that's not a Wakelet question. So Hewlin, we can come back to that. And Denise says, oh, bye, Denise. She has to go. She'll catch the rest on replay.
Yeah, she put it.
So, all right, so you showed us how to embed it in OneNote, the advantages of doing, and hopefully we've answered that question. I think that was a great question we got early on of like, why would you want to do this? And you've showed us kind of how to embed it and what the advantages are. Oh, and we talked about this earlier. What happens if you've embedded a collection in OneNote and then you go on to your Wakelet page and you update that collection? Does it update in OneNote?
It does. It updates live. So, for example, if I found something, let me find some random OneNote article. I'm not even going to read it. Let's see. Whatever this is here. Looks like it's on the Microsoft page. Okay, so if I wanted to add this, the other great thing about Wakelet is you notice there's a little, if you use Google Chrome, there's a Chrome icon that you can put in the browser. I love that. They also have an Android or an iPhone app. And so I sometimes will add content via my phone, my tablet, just whatever device I'm on. So I want to add this. I just click my little Wakelet thing and it will come up and say, it shows me my list of collections. So I'm going to add it to this OneNote bullet journal collection that we made. So it's now in there. So if I go back and look in here, you're going to see it. And it will automatically add it to the top. There it is. It's on the top. If I didn't want it on there, when I hit edit collection, I could drag it and reorder it if I didn't want to. But for today's sake, I don't care that it's there. Now, if I go back in here, I think I have to actually sync my notebook before it's going to show up. But it will show up in there. And my sync can be kind of wonky at school. So if it doesn't sync, if I were to do this at home, it would show up in there. But yeah, it will actually show up in Embed.
So that I think is another advantage of using Wakelet. Like, going back to your example, if you have a site where parents can get help for math homework, you can have that on your Remind app, which is for parents. You can have it in a OneNote notebook, and maybe you put it on your Facebook page. And then as you add to that, you only need to add it in Wakelet, and it repopulates in all those places. So that's pretty cool.
Exactly. For example, I have a OneNote notebook that I call Lesson Planning Resources, and it has all sorts of resources. And one of the things in there is what I call enrichment sites that if a parent says, Johnny's struggling in math and what can I have him do at home? And I actually don't teach math. I'm just using it as an example. I teach language arts, but then I can say, you know what? I have a collection of websites that will give him some enrichment in math. Let me share that with you. What's your email address? And I can share it with them through there. I teach at a very low income school, so I really don't have very many parents that use OneNote. My students do, but the parents don't typically, but they mostly do have email or would use something like Remind, where I could send them a link and they could go in and find all these websites and get their child on it, either on their computer at home or on their tablet or whatever.
Yeah, that's fabulous too. Just thinking about how that might work. Like if you send them a link one time to your, homework helping collection, they always have that resource. And as you move through time and add things to that, each time they click on it, they're always going to get that updated version, rather than sending them an email with, hey, here are 5 links, and then that's all they ever get.
Exactly. And the fact that that can be updated so that if now it's new semester and we're covering new material, I may add new things to there. I don't have to re-email that parent and say, try this now. Say, look, if you go to this, it's kept updated. Something really exciting that I just heard about yesterday after this whole presentation was done is I heard of an educator in another district here in Texas that is actually using Wakelet with her students to create sort of a digital portfolio because they can upload examples of their work, all sorts of things, and they're just kind of organizing it in there. My students actually do a digital portfolio directly in OneNote, but I see how embedding a Wakelet collection in that in certain circumstances might be beneficial for them. So I'm going to look into that more for next year.
Yeah. So I think we've kind of come pretty well full circle. We've talked about what Wakelet is, why you'd want to use it, how it works with OneNote. And then Tracy has one more sort of non-Wakelet tip for us. You want to go ahead and share your list of...
Sure.
Yeah.
Just kind of an aside. This is something I found when researching the integration more. This is a page, and I should have actually clipped it into I think I might have clipped it into that Wakelet. If not, I will. This is a list of all the different applications that you can embed directly into OneNote. Some of these are education related, some are not. So Flipgrid is one that I use with my students quite a lot. Desmos, Edpuzzle, those are education related, but Giphy, Microsoft Forms, which is like a survey, or you can use it in education for quizzes. Though Microsoft Forms can be embedded directly in there. Screencast.com. So if you're screencasting and showing someone how to use a particular type of software or demonstrating, you can do that. SoundCloud and Spotify. Microsoft Sway, I'm not sure if you're familiar with that. That's a presentation app. It's kind of, it almost takes PowerPoint type slides and puts them into a very professional looking website. It takes a lot of the techie part out of it. You put the content in and it pretties it up for you. For example, the OneNote presentation that I'm actually doing in Galveston is actually in the form of a Microsoft Sway, but it's embedded in my OneNote resources notebook, just because it's a much shorter presentation and I need to be able to hit the highlights and show them what it is, but I also let them have a copy of the notebook to be able to go back and access that later. TED Talks, you can embed, so all these different things. And they're constantly updating this list. The first time I saw this list, Wakelet wasn't on it. And like 2 days later, it was on it.
Yeah. So just the sheer number of things that you can embed in OneNote is amazing. And this list is in the notebook that Tracy is sharing with you. So that was kind of like the bonus tip that Tracy
and I'm
had.
gonna throw it in that Wakelet real quick because I haven't done that before. So
Sweet.
While we're on here, I'll do that because
Okay.
I just never thought about doing that. So now it's in there.
So we're gonna wrap up soon. So if you have any last questions for Tracy, type them in the chat box now. And I want to really thank Tracy for joining us today to teach about the awesome new integration of Wakelet and OneNote. It was really fun having you. And as I said, all of Tracy's information, including links to her Wakelet and links to the notebook she's been showing you, are in the description of this video. So Tracy, you have any parting words for us?
I do not. I was trying to go in here. Oh, there we go. Stop sharing. I was finding something. Sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah, actually, I guess in closing, I'd say, number one, thanks for having me. I love this. I've never done something like this before, so this was very fun. But the biggest thing with this is to just get in there and try it and play with it. Yes, we can copy and paste links directly into OneNote, but especially if this is something you're sharing with coworkers or in a presentation type setting, this looks very professional. It looks very neat. It looks like one of my students said something about, it looks like I know a lot more about the technology than I really do, because it looked very fancy and all they did was copy and paste some links in there. And I said, see how easy that was. So it kind of makes you look like a pro.
Wow. Okay, so since we have you for a couple more minutes, I want to go through a couple questions here.
Yeah,
so back to, I think it's Hewlin. I'm sorry if I'm saying your name wrong. But this person wants to know, what is the lowest level you can share in OneNote? Is it notebook, folder, or page? I'm thinking of using this to help with scheduling a family cruise. And, believe it or not, I've only shared notebooks, so I don't know if you know the answer to this off the top of your head.
I believe Denise might know this too.
Yeah, she stepped away.
Oh, bummer.
Yeah.
Well, maybe she'll look back and post something in the comments if we're wrong. I do believe it's at the notebook level. I do know, and if you use OneNote 2016, which we know they're kind of eventually trying to phase that away, OneNote 2016, you can actually export something as like a PDF or a Word doc. But for example, something like planning a cruise, I would probably create, I don't know about you, Michelle, but I would probably create a shared notebook and share it with all the people that are going to be involved in that planning process. And
that's exactly what I was going to say. I would create a notebook because then you can have so much information. Like you can have, a section for everybody's plane tickets, everybody's hotel reservations. You can have sections for all the stuff, the information from the cruise line, a section for agendas and things like that. So if it were me, I would just do a notebook and share it with all the people involved. And then the fun thing is as you go on your cruise, you can kind of turn that notebook into a scrapbook and add pictures and descriptions.
Exactly. And what you could do while you're creating it, if you wanted, because I can see where a concern might be, if I share it with somebody, they're going to go in there and accidentally delete something I put in there. You can share it in view only mode. For example, the resources notebook that you guys have access to in the show notes there is in view only. You can't edit those pages, but you can see all of them. So you could maybe share it with them in view only so they can see the details as far as where to show up, what the itinerary and shore excursions and all that's going to be. And then maybe after the cruise, if you want to open it up so that people can, people can go in and share pictures and stories or whatever, then you could maybe give them editing access afterwards. Or, depending on who it is, if it's a child or somebody that you don't want editing it, give them view only access, give them the view only link.
Yeah. So I agree. And then we do have Mick has commented, I'm pretty sure that sharing is only at the notebook level. A family notebook is great. The first tab might be for the vacation, but there will be more. Smiley face. And then Hewlin says, sounds good. Thanks for the ideas. You're welcome. Hope we helped. And then Long Live You has a question that says, does a Wakelet connection have to be made public in order to use the share button? None of my collections have share enabled.
No, you don't have to make it public. And I don't have y'all back on the screen share. You don't have to make it public if you want to share it. In fact, until I really started working on this, I had only one collection that was actually public, and I have a colleague that that share several collections back and forth, and I just shared the link with her. So you can share it with just certain people. That's where you would put that unlisted and then share that link with whom you choose.
So if the share isn't enabled, the setting might be on that. There was that one that was really locked down. It said private, which is only me. So if share is not enabled, I would imagine that one's probably checked. I think I would.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Correct. So yeah, when you go into that share and then you just change the visibility, basically, I think instead of share, in my opinion, it would be, more accurate to say visibility. But yeah, that visibility, that's where you click on that share to change the visibility from either public to private to, the limited with just whom you share it with.
Gotcha. Okay. And then Jan said, thank you for the information about Wakelet. This is brand new. I've not heard of it until this presentation.
Excellent. I'm glad.
You're welcome, Jan. Okay, so it looks like that's it for the questions. And I think we'll go ahead and wrap up here. So, again, thank you, Tracy. Thanks for everyone joining us. It was really great to learn this, and your presentation was awesome. I feel like I just totally get Wakelet, and I want to jump on it now. So that's awesome. If you like today's chat, I would love it if you'd subscribe by hitting the subscribe button. And as my subscriber, you'll get notified of future Take Note chat sessions. And I'll be hosting different guests, so the day and time may change from month to month. And that's it. Thanks a lot, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.